It is likely that this omen will only occur when fitna and prahara have completely overtaken humanity, as the end point of the previous episode of fitna and prahara, or most likely in fitna ad duhaima. Another possibility is that their appearance will coincide with the appearance of the Dajjal to serve as his assistant in spreading the fitna to the people. More specifically, in other ahar, the devil will appear in the form of wealth, family, or loved ones to mislead people. Likewise, the liberation of these demons also coincides with the liberation of the Dajjal from the chains that bind him. 8. Roman domination ahead of the last days. Musa bin Ali narrated that his father said, Al-Mustrid al-Qurashi said in the presence of Amr bin Ash, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, when the day of judgment comes, the Romans will dominate. Then Amr bin Ash said, do you realize what you said? Al-Mustrid replied, yes. I said what I heard from the Messenger of Allah. Then Amr bin Ash said, then these people have for characteristics. 1. They are the most resilient nation in the face of fitna. 2. They are a nation that quickly rises when hit by a crisis. 3. They are the fastest nation to unite after they are scattered. 4. They are the most polite nation towards the poor, orphans, and the duafa. Plus the 5th, they are a good and beautiful nation, and the most able to prevent the tyranny of their rulers. Explanation: this hadith clearly indicates that the Romans are the rulers of the world and the most stable nation in the days leading up to the hour. This is the meaning of the wording of the hadith. Rum, Aksar, and Nas. The Romans are the largest race of the world's population. So the meaning of Aksar, most, is the result of their stable state and dominance over other nations. This understanding is corroborated by the detailed explanation of Amr ibn Ash, may Allah be pleased with him, which shows his skill in analyzing the features of the Romans. This detail also proves that he understood the words of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, very well, and that what he was referring to was the dominance and stability of the Romans. But apart from that, we were also surprised that the wording of this hadith opens with takumu instead of la takumu. At first, we thought that the wording might have been an error on the part of some of the narrators. However, after tracing the narrations, we found the same wording. If it were not for this form of redaction, we would have assumed that this hadith was one of the signs of the hour, which has already occurred in our time. More specifically, the 5 features of the Romans mentioned by Amr ibn Ash, may Allah be pleased with him, have been proven in our own time. This is evident from their influence in global politics and the stability of their country. They are also the most dominating nation in terms of their influence in every corner of the world. This has been clearly recognized in our time. However, with such wording, this hadith cannot be interpreted as a sign of the doomsday that has occurred in the present, because the content that can be captured from the hadith implies that the day of judgment really arrived when they were dominating the world. This implies that the Romans have a further episode after the Second Muslim Triumph, or after their fortress is torn down in Constantinople and Rome at the end of time. According to our interpretation, it is likely that this is why the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, referred to the Romans as Jadal Qarun. As has been mentioned, the 5 supporting factors mentioned by Amr ibn Ash, may Allah be pleased with him, about the Romans show that he was a very skillful person, an insightful expert, and an expert in the field of politics and government, the ups and downs of a nation, and the causes of its existence and decline. It is these 5 factors that, in Ibn Amr's view, guarantee the development of a nation, and it is these factors that made the Romans emerge as the most influential power on earth. If you notice, these 5 factors were already present in the Romans, whom we ourselves lived side by side with, so that we could see them firsthand. They are the most resilient nation in the face of temptation, not hasty in setting policies, but first carefully studying various data collected in the field. They are a nation that quickly rises from adversity, the most skillful in taking lessons from every past event they have experienced. And then they use them to solve the problems they are facing. On the other hand, they are the fastest nation to unite after they have been scattered. They are the most courteous to the poor and widows. The latter is not yet evident with the perfect picture. Nonetheless, their legislation clearly provides a breath of fresh air for the Duafa, which includes opening channels of compensation social security and providing various facilities to improve their standard of living. As for the last factor, which is also able to prevent injustice, they will not give the rulers a chance. This is the cause of the downfall of the tyrannical and despotic rulers of the Muslim Ummah, a phenomenon that is most obvious when compared to other indications. This is reflected in the various laws that they enacted, which did not give the rulers the slightest chance to act arbitrarily and despotic towards their subjects. Clearly, 5 factors can be found in this nation today. In contrast to all this, these 5 factors are completely absent from the Muslims in a very clear picture. Despite the various disasters that have come their way, it is a pity that they did not immediately realize and rise up, and even acted cowardly by fleeing from the battlefield when the enemy came. It was very difficult for them to unite in order to achieve glory. We only find rulers who are selfish and do not care about the fate of their people. As a result, the poor and needy only get a little help. In fact, they are often used for the benefit of certain people, rather than helping them. As for the 5th factor, which is to prevent the rulers from doing wrong, no single article of legislation can prevent it. Certainly no one was given the opportunity to enforce the law, nor was anyone able to prevent the tyranny of the rulers. This was the cause of the downfall of the Muslim Ummah. 9. The waxing moon. Anas radiyallahu anhu reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, say, among the signs of the nearness of the hour is the sighting of the moon upside down, so that it is said, the moon was calculated to be for 1 night, but what is seen is the moon for 2 nights. Mosques that are turned into streets, and sudden death. Sahih al-Jami ash-Shagir, Vol. 2, Hadith No. 5899. Abdul H. ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, among the signs of the nearness of the hour is the waxing of the moon, so that it is said, this moon should be for 1 night, but what appears is for 2 nights. As Silsila al-Hadith ash-Shahiha, Jil. 5. Hadith number 2292. Explanation. These 2 hadiths indicate one of the signs of the imminence of the hour, which is closely related to the moon's position orbit as a satellite of the earth. As the 2 hadiths indicate, the moon's position orbit changes to the extent that the moon for 1 night will be seen that night as the moon for 2 nights or the next night. This is what is meant by the words of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, Intifaq al-Hilal, in the above hadith. So the moon will look bigger than it actually is. Of course, this kind of sign has not happened yet in the present time. According to some scholars, Intifaq al-Hilal means that the moon appears before its time. In our view, this view is wrong. What is correct is that the new moon still appears on time, but it appears with a larger sphere, so it is said that the new moon is 2 nights old. This is clearly indicated in the wording of the hadith above, which states that the new moon was supposed to be 1 night old, but its shape was seen to be 2 nights old. And this sign indicates that the position of the moon orbit, with respect to the earth, has shifted. It is likely that this sign is a door to punishment for Muslims who have always fussed over the Hilal issue with political or other money motives, which resulted in Muslims always disagreeing in determining the beginning and end of their worship. As long as they disagree on this issue, even though they have mastered technological advances and knowledge, then no doubt they will continue to get punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the increasingly vague position of the moon to be determined with certainty. Hilal is closely related to two of the greatest Muslim acts of worship, the fasting of Ramadan and the Hajj. If in the past the companions were not told when the Laylatul Qadr would occur, because some of them argued in the presence of the Prophet peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, then it is possible that in the end of time, Muslims will be blinded in determining when the day of Arafat or Yawm an-Nar will arrive due to their disagreement in determining these 2 days. For example, if what is meant is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, if the hilal seen on that day is the hilal for the following night, then it is certain that the 9th of Dhul Hijjah will fall on a date that is actually still the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, while the date that is actually still the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, they consider to have reached the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So the wrong day and date is what they make the day of Arafat. It is well known that the only place that has the task of determining the new moon of Dhul Hijjah is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And that is why Muslims in other countries do not need to bother about when the day of Arafat or Yawm an-Nar falls. To the best of our knowledge, we have never heard of any sharp differences of opinion among their scholars regarding the determination of the day of Arafat. However, it is unfortunate that a very striking disagreement is seen when contemporary Islamic scholars determine when the beginning of Ramadan and the end of Ramadan fall. As for the determination of when Arafat occurs, Islamic scholars have agreed to leave the decision to the results of the Saudi scholars, although this is also not spared from disputes among themselves. For the first time during the Hajj season of 1425 H, there were fierce differences among the scholars of the 2 Haram lands regarding the determination of the 9th and 10th of Dhul Hijjah. As a result, they finally decided that these dates should be moved forward a day. Is this a symptom of the enlargement of the Hilal sphere, which is a sign of the imminence of the hour? It is possible, and we hope that those involved will be aware of this phenomenon. The enlargement of the moon's sphere also implies a significant shift in the moon's orbit of the Earth that occurs at the end of time. This means that we are dealing with a natural phenomenon and not a human condition. So, how do we respond to it? Wallahu alam. Does this sign have anything to do with a much bigger natural event? Wallahu alam. The most important thing is that this sign is a secret for mankind, which, when the time comes, they will be the witnesses.